Mistake number 3, no wealth transfer strategy. So we want to have a wealth transfer plan put into place. It's well thought out. It's tailored to our own individual assets, accounts for our unique family situation. So if we have brother, sister, son or daughter who's a special needs child, we want to address that in our estate plan. We don't want them receiving a distribution of assets that would disrupt any benefits they're receiving, maybe SSI, Medi-Cal, or some other a benefit that's income-based. Or we may have, again, you have a situation where a child has a troubled marriage, and we want to maybe limit those assets so that they don't end up going to an ex-spouse. And so we want that plan designed to streamline the transfer. You know, when it comes time to distribute those assets, we don't want to put roadblocks in the way. We want to be able to have a quick and cost-effective transfer of our assets. And what we're really talking about here is avoiding probate, because probate is the antithesis of quick and cost-effective. Each of you in the packet of materials you received, there's a one-page article titled "What is Probate?" Really just going over probate, what it is, why it is to be avoided. And one of the problems is it's very expensive and it takes a long time to work through. It begins with filing a petition to administer the estate, $500 fee there, a couple $100 to file notice to the creditors in the local newspaper, and then your creditors are valid and fraudulent, have 4 months to file a claim against the estate. And many times, it's a valid claim that just needs to be paid. But other times, it's a fraudulent claim, or it's a claim that is just not worthy of being paid. I encountered one situation where we were administering an estate for an individual, and his father, for his father's estate, we filed the notice to the creditors, and then Verizon steps up and says, "Oh, we've got this $1,500 phone bill." So that was kind of odd, because Dad was incapacitated for the last several years of his life, couldn't speak, so lo and behold, it was the caretaker who was using the phone to make phone calls overseas. And so we had to put together declarations and affidavits and show Verizon that it wasn't the father who was making those phone calls. So that is something that can extend the period of time it takes to go through the probate process. And it's not cost effective, because in addition to the court costs and filing the notice to creditors, we need what's called a probate referee. And they're the ones who do an inventory and appraisal of the estate. Well, they're entitled to 0.1% of the estate. And then we have our executor. If the only thing in our estate is a modest home worth $200,000, well, that executor's going to be entitled to $7,000. And then their attorney is going to be entitled to an additional $7,000. So that's $14,000. So that's why we want to get a wealth transfer plan in place. And how do we do that? And we can do that with a living trust. When we set up a living trust, typically the grantor, if you're of sound mind, you would be the trustee of that trust, meaning you continue to have the ability to amend and revoke the trust. You have the ability to manage the assets that are in that trust through the beneficiary, because you can continue to use and enjoy those assets. And then upon a period of incapacity or death, your successor trustee steps in and they'd be able to manage those assets for you without having to go to the court and seek court approval of the various transactions they want to enter into. Now, if we had an estate worth over $1 million, we're looking at saving $50,000 in probate fees by avoiding probate and using the living trust. About 12 months' time to process that probate. Do you have a question? So, if you have her question was, if you have a home that's underwater, will you have to probate the estate? Well, it depends. If your loved ones want to keep that asset, they would need to file a petition to administer the estate and go through that probate process. Now, if they said it's not worth it, we don't want the home, well, they could just not pay the mortgage and it would go back to the bank. And so it wouldn't be necessary to file a probate. But we do see people with reverse mortgages or just a little bit of equity in the home, and the kids want to keep the home, pull out that little bit of equity. You know, mom and dad thought, well, there's not much equity in the home. It's not worth going through, you know, putting it into a living trust, and then, you know, we still have to probate it, you know, after they pass away if they want to keep that home.